Hey, what's up, everybody? So this episode of Can't Just Bobby.T, I sit down with my good friend Mo Z, where we chat about a breadth of different stuff, in particular around VEECON, GaryVee, and our experiences with this awesome doodle that we found. In this episode, we unpack a little bit of details of that, tell you and reintroduce you back to Mo Z, and it is fun to kind of hear and talk a little about the process as a creator, as a person who's trying to put out content information to the world, some of our limitations, some of our challenges, and the way forward. So as this is always a period of trying to figure out our rhythm, figure out ourselves, and trying to get to that flow and energy, welcome to the cadence of Just Bobby.T.
Welcome. You're now listening to Just Bobby.T.
Today, I'm so excited, everyone, because we're going to have a chat and talk a little bit about VEECON. We're going to nerd out about some current events and activities, and we're just going to go wherever we want to go, Mo. Because, you know what? This is this Mo Z, Bobby.T's time.
Hey, we always do that, man. We start somewhere and we end up somewhere totally different. And that's what I love about you, because we just have that amazing energy that we can just nerd out about everything.
100%. So maybe a quick little introduction, Mo, for the people who don't know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Mo. I am a filmmaker based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, represent. And I just love creating stories and the work that we do. When I say we, my brother Maz, shout out Maz, and myself work a lot on commercials, documentary style films. We just finished, premiered a feature film, so it was our first feature film.
Dope.
And
what was the name of that feature film?
The Lebanese Burger Mafia.
Okay.
And, hey man, we'll jump into that a little later. But I just love creating, storytelling, and just being immersed in that world of creativity. That's who I am. There's more, but I didn't want to keep going. Just keep it short.
Totally. So one question I have, because this episode is going to we're going to nerd out a little bit about sort of that community V friends, but in particular the stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk has done. And I'm kind of curious, what got you into, or actually let me take a step back. What is your thoughts or your take around sort of the current state of almost this technological craze that's happening around creating content, around producing films, around telling stories? What's your take on that in this kind of current time that we are in 2023?
I think my brother and I were chatting about this. If you are not creating in today's age online, you may as well be considered dead.
100%.
It's the truth in a weird way. Now, what does that really mean? Do you need to create for the sake of creating to be alive? No. You can do it for multiple reasons. You can do it for yourself just because you like doing it. You can do it to create a brand. You can do it just to stay in touch with friends and family. And you can just be completely offline. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, everyone has a different perspective on creation. But I do know that since the early days of YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, being immersed in creating and building online is exponentially growing. And not only that, even with this new craze of AI, it's adding to the element of creatives and creators and artists to double down on the things that matter most, which is the ideas in our minds, and then how to translate them into tangible, digestible, whether you want to call it artistic or just simply, at the end of the day, creating is any form of art. Some people think grabbing your phone or whatever is not as artistic, but the fact that you are just pushing yourself to make something is already ahead of many other people who are stuck in their head, and then they just only keep their ideas in their minds, including myself.
But you're 100%, because just to echo the same sentiments, because I'm such a firm believer of that, is that whatever goals or ambitions you're trying to achieve, by creating content to help fuel that or achieve it, it is easier than ever to do it.
Yeah.
It is one of the most effective ways, in my opinion, to kind of go down that path. So just as you said those examples, even if your goals are not necessarily around work-related stuff, but personal-related stuff. If you wanted to create legacy, if you wanted opportunity that your children could see what was it like my mom, my father, when I was a young child, and what were they into, and just documenting that one day they might see it when they're adults is important, from like a mobile phone, from photos, all the way down to, yes, if I have a work ambition, I'm trying to climb a corporate ladder, I'm trying to achieve a certain project, I'm trying to sell my products and services. If you don't have content to back this up, you are dead because you don't exist.
Yeah.
and for the ones who are offline, they have other counterparts, or they have other mechanisms that's creating content to sell their product or services. And so even though they're personally not online, their projects are online in some shape or form, or they would also be dead.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, every company should have a media, department or section into their brand. If you're not creating stories to your brand, like, you're hurting yourself to be ahead of the game, to just be in the conversation, to be relevant, and to provide value to your peers, your competitors.
Totally.
To everything. There's just so much to it. I think at the end of the day, I bet you, everyone grabs their phone and they open up their photo app, you can just see everyone's a creator.
100%.
Everyone's a creator.
Yeah.
If you just scroll through their thing. But it really matters. That's why I say, it really depends on your personal journey.
Yep.
What the purpose is of you sharing versus not sharing, And I personally believe, out of if you did a statistic kind of poll and you got, let's say, 100 people or 1,000 people, 10% of those people, which is 100 people, want to create content, but only 1% of those people actually execute. So it just shows you that even in this world of it feels like, oh, this person does that, why do I need to also create the same thing as this create? Well, guess what? Your voice is different than my voice.
100%.
So and this is why I'm guilty of all these things.
Yeah, likewise too.
But I think having these conversations with you, with the homies, that we're trying to create a hub of a space that we all push each other to do this, because we're all passionate about creating, and we believe that doubling down on your own voice, no matter how many other voices are out there that are creating similar style content, I think at the long run and the long journey, you developing and honing these even me talking to you right now, am I articulating well? Am I speaking well? You know, I hate my own voice, but just the fact that if I keep doing it over and over again and embrace my quirkiness and the 100%. Things that I say wrong, English is not my first language, and then I say there's so many wrong things that I sometimes are self-conscious of, but that doesn't really stop me from creating. It's more the weird ambiguous oh, I'm gonna get to it because I'm always busy with other things. I just went into very 5 different
but it's
lanes here.
It's true though, because you're basically it's sometimes an internal battle with your inner critic, that inner voice. Yeah. And in that process of creating, it's about experimentation. And I think when, again, jumping on that same analogy of people scrolling through your phone, you see some people have phones of 90, 60, 10, 15 different selfies of the same thing they post that one. Yeah. I think it's about, you got to apply that same kind of mindset when it comes to testing things. And so you take the many different versions, create the many different videos, experience the many different kind of products and services in hopes of getting a deeper understanding, going on a number of different podcasts to flush out your voice, or the way you tell stories is the only way to grow.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, Sean Kanungo says this best, no one really cares about what you post until they care.
Totally.
There's a big phase and no one really cares, and I do agree with you. And then we really just think oh my God, the people who follow us are going to be what they're going to think about it. I personally don't, I'm happy to have a very ghost channel and start from there, because I'm not posting for the people that I'm friends with. You and I are friends outside of this. We chat about this stuff all the time, not even on camera.
Totally.
So this to me is I don't need to have the cameras to talk about this.
100%, because you're having it in so to speak, real life already.
Exactly. And I think what's nice about creating this is to allow I guess, to have a conversation in the social, in the network, for all the ones who are afraid, who are scared, who are kind of like, oh wow, these guys are suffering too. But really, what's gonna really push you though? I mean, like us having a conversation about this, like, I mean, I love that you are now like you go through phases about like pushing things and then you kind of like fall off. I haven't even pushed yet. So the fact that I'm seeing you, I'm seeing Sean, I'm seeing Nav, like all these guys are pushing. Okay, I'm like, you know, like it's inspiring for me because I also want to push my own like voice out there. And
let's be honest, I know you have that competitive spirit, Mo, where you're like, yo, look, I like what these guys are doing, but I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna kill them because I've seen some of your work, Mo, that you have buried. I've seen some of Maz's work that you've buried, and I'm like, yo, you got some like real fire that no one sees other than you two.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, I think what I also believe in though is that yes, we do have really unique experiences, our own experiences that we've like crossed paths with many amazing individuals that have helped us to develop and hone our craft, our artistic like mind, our style, our voice. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I feel like digging deeper, like kind of behind that, like unveiling the production of it, or even like the experiences that we just like. Even when I look at your stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, like sometimes I call you like, yeah, I really like what you did there or whatever. like that stuff I think is way more valuable. Like, I mean, I was just watching like Matty Hapoya's like video where he's doing a new series, which
and for those who don't know who he is, just give him a quick little like one-liner.
Matty Hapoya is a filmmaker from the GTA. Him and Peter McKinnon are big homies. These are like some of the two biggest like filmmaker YouTubers in Canada. Yeah, I'm sure there's many. I know a few other ones.
But they're one of the two bigger icons.
Yeah. So Matty.
So what did you see from him?
Starting a new series where he is breaking down films with the DPs who actually filmed.
Oh, that's cool.
The films.
Yeah.
The first one he's did is the guy who did like Joker.
Oh shit.
And I'm just like,
that's
Matty,
epic.
I'm so jealous. but it's funny because like even them, they like, you know, sure he has over 1 million subscribers, but you can tell like he's like, how can I develop something new? Because like you're getting like, how many times I'm gonna make a camera review? How many times, whatever. But for us, I mean, it's easy to create a camera review. Actually, the best thing about us is that we have like open,
the world. We have an
open land that we can just like do this. We can do that. Yeah. I mean, we can even like.
There's no limitation.
We can even ask the Joker guy, like, "Yo, do you want to like jump on here?" Like, we can.
Totally.
He might not jump on there.
but there's no ceiling, and let's be honest, no ceiling because we haven't started yet.
Exactly. We haven't started yet. And that's the beauty about being unknown, is that you can experiment with so many different styles. And I know we're going all over the place, but the theme overall here is that the importance of creating has to be a personal choice and then
kind of a reflection of your journey.
And a reflection, exactly. So
because we're like, I'm kind of curious, like, where are you at in sort of your filmmaking and content creation? Like, are you still tasting and experimenting, or do you have your distinct locked and loaded around the stuff that you do and don't do?
Oh, 100% experimenting. Like there's, in terms of like creation, I haven't even like started. Like in a way, it's funny, we've gone through, I mean, I've been creating forever, professionally since 2014. Yep. But online to like be consistent and have something or build like, oh, this is what I'm creating here. Like zero. Right. But I'm so passionate about it because I consume so much of it. Like I like creating, you know, the official format, you know, how some people say traditional format, because, you know, it allows you to grow in that space. And in a way, like taste the official way of doing like film or commercials, but it's no different than creating like something for yourself, like totally. You know,
because I think too many times people don't taste. I think they already try to limit themselves in the breadth and genres of the many different aspects you take. Where I think, to your point, you know, I've seen and witnessed you tackle a range of different projects. You're always open to like, okay, cool, tell me about it. Let me hear it out. And then sometimes I imagine you even take a hit on certain things because you just want that experience. You want to potentially add this to sort of the breadth of work and to see if you like this or if this is something that could add to your skill sets and things.
Yeah, I mean, when you're starting out, for anyone who's interested in filmmaking and creating videos and in the creation world, you kind of have to do everything until you figure out what you like. And even then, you're gonna change later.
Totally.
Like, you're never gonna be the same person ever. But I do agree that, some people say, like, try to master the one thing.
Yep.
If you're trying to build something online, finding a little niche is always great because you can double down on it and build a small audience, and you will always lose audience along the way as you change and you like something else. Like, you can't eat the same food every day.
Totally.
Someday you're gonna like pasta, the other day you're gonna like pizza. Well, maybe that's too close, but I don't know, like sushi, right? Like
totally jerk chicken,
exactly. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but I think it kind of makes sense. Like you like a specific food, but you're gonna always experiment in other things. You're gonna try little things, and you're gonna love something else.
Totally.
And then I think that's how you slowly start building a voice, and then from there. Like I said, even the guys who are making it at the bigger level are always experimenting and changing. And it's harder when you have a bigger audience because you feel like, oh, they're not going to like me because now there's more to it. And I don't know. It's nice. It'll be good to like pick their brain on that topic. But for us, what's great is the land is yours. The world is yours. Is that how Nas says it?
The world is yours. Yeah.
And then you kind of just... you just
totally
create, ideas, execution, consistency.
Yeah.
And then
reflect on that.
I don't know, man.
So to change the pace a little bit, Mo, let's jump into VEECON.
Yes.
VEECON was now about, was it 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago? A month ago? Around that range.
May, third week of May.
Third week of May. Looking back at
a month ago.
Yeah, a month ago. Looking back at it, what were your thoughts around VEECON round 2?
Okay.
And give people a quick little context of like, what is VEECON? How do you describe VEECON?
VEECON is a conference started by Gary Vaynerchuk, a very well-known entrepreneur from New Jersey. He has VaynerMedia. This guy, like, he's a marketing company. Started off as a wine. Took his dad's business from like out of 5 million to 60 million. I don't even know what the story is. You can just look up GaryVee and you'll know exactly who he is. He's very active on social media. You cannot miss his voice. No. And the best part about this guy is he's been saying the same thing for the past like 10 years. I don't know. Online, like the message doesn't even change. So he started an NFT project, a non-fungible project called VeeFriends. Think like Pokemon, or like, like he's creating the IP kind of like Pokemon. Yeah. And by you purchasing these digital assets, it allows you to get access to a 3-year-long conference called VEECON. And at VEECON, it's think like culture, technology, music, business, motivation, like all sorts of topics that are like in the current state of what the current landscape of media and like.
And I think you summed it of what culture is. It's a reflection of culture.
Yeah, it really is it's a reflection of culture where he brings some of the top like speakers in the world, and not just speakers, but just the innovators, the builders, the dreamers, the artists, all jam-packed into one, and it's only accessed for the ones who purchased his digital asset, which is a cap of like 10,000 and 200, something like that. I forget the number. I'm not like a hardcore VeeFriends guy, but I know. So essentially, that's what VEECON is. Now, to summarize what the experience was.
For VEECON 2023.
VEECON 2023. You and I both went to VEECON 2022. The level of VEECON 2022 was the inaugural event, and it was.
But first, let's dive into 2023 first. I want to get your quick little take on.
2023 was more. what's the right word that I'm looking for here? I really enjoyed it in overall.
Yeah.
I think it was more insightful. I engaged more with the community. It felt less chaotic, more organized. I mean, overall, I think like
No, that makes sense.
that was my short little
no,
answer.
that makes sense because like I would say it was less surprise and delight and more like relationships.
That was that's a great way to summarize it. Here
and
you go.
and then with that, between the conference, seeing people, seeing familiar faces, walking through it, checking out, like getting into the actual venue of like 10,000 people, and the process of how quickly you can get in or buying swag, like everything was just more polished, more refined, and more
100%.
less chaotic, which just created a more immersive experience. But at that, it was less surprise and delight because we experienced the first one around anything.
And what's actually even more interesting on that note is that the market right now of the space and the stock market in general, everything is like down.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The value of the digital asset is down significantly down, like 90% down. And it's kind of like almost a joke. It's like, why are people still showing up to this thing when the space is like, you know, last year, everyone was talking about NFTs. Oh my God! Right click save.
Yeah.
What the hell is a space? It's fake internet money that you can just
Yeah.
sell and make this weird thing. And then what's interesting, like you said, like people are still showed up and they doubled down on the connections, the relationships, the community as a whole. Like I felt that was what really made this more interesting. And then all the conversations, like literally lots of valuable information. In my opinion, the information is still the same. We already know it, but just tasting it live and being immersed in that space reaffirms of like the things that you're maybe sometimes questioning or maybe like you get in your head. But overall, great experience. Highly recommend for anyone that wants to join it. I mean, the ticket was like $300. Like,
Totally. Like that's so insane. And I'm wondering if you have any stories that you could think of that made that stood out from you from the experience. And like I have a quick story where shout out to Josh.
Oh yeah.
where I was long story short, I was in line for some swag. And we had our photo booth session where I was going to film you taking your picture with GaryVee, and I was nowhere near yet close to the front of the line. And this one dude just like kind of overhears, and I was like, "Hey, could you hold my spot?" He's like, "Yeah, I can hold your spot, but like, just let me know what you want to buy, and I'll buy it for you." I was like, "Are you sure, man?" And what I wanted costs like 200 American. So I was like, "Yo, are you sure, man?" He's like, "No. If you're not back in time, I'll hold your spot. But if you're not back in time, just tell me the list you want. I'll buy it for you and just give me back the money." I was like, "Hi, Josh." Like first time meeting buddy, and he just like was like, "Yeah, no problem. This is like, why wouldn't I do this?" And I was like, "You're the best." And then not only that, after when we take the pictures, so we fast forward, we take the pictures. I'm still able to make it back, buy my items, and there was one rare item that was being sold in terms of this pin. And I forgot to buy it.
Right.
And this Josh guy who I just met was like, "Hey, I saw you ran through the line quite quickly, and I don't think you bought this pin, but this is the limited edition thing that's gonna sell out. I bought you one. Here you go." I was like, man, people are good.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of Gary's overall message. It's all about positivity. It's all about like empathy, being kind. Even the characters is like, patient panda, kind candor, or all these like positive attributes, which is kind of like he's trying to instill into like people's minds, like, by being good, even in a business competitive setting, it's in the long run.
Totally. The idea of like the honey empire, like I can build an empire by being good.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, do I have a stand? I think you had a way better story than I did. But like overall, like everybody who I interacted with, because I've been kind of active on Twitter. Okay, sorry, I'm not that active on Twitter. Very, very little like online, but I do interact every now and then with people, and I've kind of met these internet friends that when you show up in person, like, it's Mosey, oh my God, like, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh man, this guy does the best content ever, and I'm like, I don't even do content, bro. I'm trying to work on that. And just like they like hype you up, they're kind of like make you feel like you're just like this cool person, and I'm like, no, man, we're all here like learning.
Yeah.
And
But they show some love.
just the energy, I think the energy from everyone that you meet in person and that you connect with is super fun. I mean, like, I think one experience was kind of random. Like, we were just chatting, you, me, Esma, and her sister, and then Andy Kranek, which is the president of VFriends, came in like, hey, let's do a battle with like Compete and Collect, which is like it's these collectible cards that for the VFriends characters, and we just started like, he like gave us, and we like all battled.
Yeah.
And that was like a very random and fun thing to do, but they're just trying to create that like
Engagement.
yeah, I mean, and their goal is to really like, I mean, yes, the people there really know what VFriends are because they're like asset holders in a way.
Yep.
Most of them, but they're also trying to build like the entire structure from like digital making to like physical collectibles to little like machines that you can like those like 50-cent little collectibles.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're doing everything right.
They're merchandising and they're creating a series. They have a merchandising strategy around the
Yeah.
brand in terms of physical goods.
Yeah.
And then they have like the digital asset structure around this YouTube cartoon series and items, things like that. And plus, yes, they have the digital asset structure. And so they just have plans upon plans.
Oh, totally. And I think just the final story, kind of not really related. Like, it's going back to the creation side. I finished this talk. You were, I think, at a different talk. I was listening to the Timbaland one. And then I finished with it, and I was like, Timbaland's like right there. I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, Timbo, man. One of like the dopest. Even Pharrell says he's better than him. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're just like watching the dude talk about music and the future of music. Not really gonna dive too deep into that. And I'm following these guys because they want to interview. They want to do a quick interview beside GaryVee's selfie station. And then I'm like, I'm like following with the crowd. I mean, it's not a lot of people there, so it's not really like groupies, but I kind of just follow along, and then I'm like just watching what they're doing because I'm just curious. And then this guy, his name is Nima Van. He is the director. He's a director at VFriends. So I'm not sure exactly how deep his role is. I kind of just looked it up online. That's the great thing about online. You can just look up anybody.
Totally.
Just find out what they do.
Quick Google search.
Exactly.
LinkedIn search.
And then he had his filmmaker with him doing the interviews, and then I'm just looking at their setup. I'm a nerd, so obviously I got my own camera, and then I'm looking at the
both
camera.
had our camera setups,
Yeah. And then they're using the Zoom H6 with like the mic connected to it, and he's doing it on the camera, and also has a mic on there. But I noticed as soon as they filmed, they felt like a little bit like something was wrong, and I'm kind of just like trying to understand like what's wrong. Like, that was a cool interview, Timbaland's doing his thing, and he just left right away. I mean, with these guys, you get like
you get the 30-second, the 20 seconds, and then they're out.
100%, especially because when it's like when you do something like first take, like the thoughts, the energy is like right there. Kind of no different that we're doing it now. And then, but it sounded like what sounded like is that the mic did not, like the audio recorder did not record the audio, and then the dude. Nima wanted to listen to the recording from the on-mic camera, and then they didn't have any headphones, like earphones or headphones, and like I literally had my headphones like this, and I was like, I guess I should give him my headphones. I felt bad, right? Because like I knew the moment so like I like in my mind I'm like, I've been in that situation.
Totally.
Like, oh shit! Like, did we miss that moment? Did we need to re-record?
Yeah. Is it
just
too loud?
Yeah. I was like. I literally was like, do you guys need a headphone? And they're like, oh, yeah, please. I was like, put it on, plugged it in, and then they were just trying to listen to the audio if it was like salvageable.
Yeah.
Or
if you could hear it,
if you could
worked.
hear it.
Yeah.
And then you could just see the guy was like looking at Nima. He's like, yeah, I can clean that up.
Yeah.
Like, and like while he's like sweating, like I know he was sweating and whatever.
Totally. We've all been in those scenarios.
So I'm like just kind of having fun with it, and the guy was like, "Oh man, thank you so much. Send me a DM on IG," which I did. He still hasn't replied. I got to follow up.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta follow up, Mo. You gotta follow up.
And I'm just following up just because to create connections at the end of the day. But to me, what this whole experience kind of made me realize is like, I can easily do what they're doing. I can easily be like even more with what they're doing. And I know my skill set is, if not even level, if beyond that. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm literally saying that out of love and compassion. And it just shows you that like getting access to this group is nothing like special. Like it literally is nothing special. It's just, even Gary, like he goes up to anybody and just hangs out with people. Even after the whole show, like he was just in the crowd. It's not like this, like
he's not above the community.
Yeah, I mean, like it's different with Timbaland. Like Timbaland just looks like, yo, I'm too cool.
Yeah.
Like,
but he was still walking through the crowd. It wasn't like he was escorted out with.
I mean, like he did have a
he had his entourage,
but he didn't hang out in the crowd. Versus like some of them do because they're not that level. We're talking about Timbaland. Like there's some people. Like if Drake was there, if Kanye was there, like you can't just everyone's gonna be like, like trying to say something to them, and then like Gary will like literally talk to everybody, and everyone will be like, shit, I guess I gotta leave now. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But all I'm trying to say is that it's kind of just. It didn't really make me realize, but it kind of reaffirmed, or maybe it did make me realize. I don't know. It was a realization moment. So
yo, if I can say, I hit several of those like kind of like paradigm shifts of a realization. Hence why I don't know if you know this, but when you audit these past 4 weeks, like I've been go. I'm like, no, like I just got to put this out. I got to do this. I got to move here.
I have been seeing Bobby.T posting a lot online.
Yeah, I got to get this stuff out, and it's out of what you just said. Like my inner self-critic, to be honest, my own self-doubt, to blunt, it's dead because seeing what people have been able to achieve, who are great creators, but to be honest, they're nothing special.
Yeah.
Just made me realize, okay, cool. Well, then what's holding you back? Oh, I know, you. So let me just get going and stop talking about the past, stop talking about the challenges, stop talking about like sort of the path of, improvement or reiterating, and just get her done. Just ship it. Ship it.
Yeah. And you never know what that's going to unlock. The fact that you're just now visible online, there's so much more opportunities out there than you'll never know. And you'll never know they were there. But because you're now visible, people are going to be like, oh, I know what you're doing.
Did you have any I'm kind of curious now with round 2 of V Friends. We've had this ongoing story. I think the story's been 2 years around this doodle. And we're not gonna recap about the past stuff because we got that content laid out and we've done that podcast.
Yes, we do.
I'm kind of curious about what was going on this year from your perspective. Like what was one cool thing that you felt was awesome? Whether it's around celebrating, whether it's a new piece of inside information, like
in relation to the one of one golden ticket. I don't know what the hell it is. Well, I do think that number one, showing up is more than half the battle, because Gary said that in his own voice at the height of the craziness of the art world, where his physical doodles sold at Christie's auction house for over $1 million.
1.4 million.
$1.4 million. He creates this one-of-one unique character that's completely not in the V-Friends world.
Yeah.
And by far, from a few members of the community that I've talked to, have said that this is the rarest thing in the V-Friends world. That's not from my voice, but I can agree, because it's totally random. There's nothing out there that exists from this thing. So us going to 2 years back to back, going to just pick Gary's brain to be like, what is this? Now, keep in mind, yes, we did share a video. Yes, we have put this thing, but it's very under wraps. Like, very few people know it. Very few people in the V-Friends community know it.
No one knows it.
And we have not been very vocal. For two like filmmakers, creators who can easily like push like a very interesting. Bro, I just did a documentary. Like we can like spin this in a very interesting way, but we haven't. And for personal reasons, maybe for no reason at all. I have no idea why.
Insecurities.
I mean, look, I'm not gonna say for insecurities. I think we just haven't. You and I haven't actually sat down to be like, what do we want to do with this? Like,
Well, we have. If you think about it, we have. Several times.
Not like long term, but okay. I think the informal thing is that we both want to. We care more about the story, more on like the value asset
Totally.
that it is. Don't get me wrong. If this thing sells for like $5 million, I mean, hey, I'm not gonna like be like, oh my God, I'm so sad. It sold $5 million. But I think there's something really interesting about the story aspect of this thing. And so going to this and talking to Gary about it reaffirmed that this character is an extremely unique character that he potentially has plans for the next year to just announce what it is.
Totally. And
maybe incorporate it into the world and have it just whatever.
Watching him share in such great detail to his father about it and bringing him up to speed and taking that time was just like, I was like, yes, more. Tell us more. Just because it was interesting to see him unpack that and he himself admit like, hey, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this guy's got this. And they got it it graded.
People don't understand how difficult this was to acquire. Like they think this was super easy, but like you can't just go into someone's room that they're already checked in, let alone Gary Vaynerchuk's room, and be like, oh, I'm just gonna get this thing. Like the world works in mysterious ways, and then and I think the key here was just like curiosity, not being afraid,
Totally.
being patient. It's been 2 years and we still don't know what the hell this is. Patient pig, patient panda. Like, bro, we're just like out here trying to, number one, not like, oh, we need to like figure out what this is. We need to like, put something like, whatever. Like, no, like let this marinate. Let this be something beyond what the art world has like even experienced. This unique PSA authenticated doodle that Gary, every time that he looks at it, like the way he looks at it and just like contemplates in his mind. Like I can just see like there's like ideas or like things that I feel him and D-Rock filmed something that like we don't know what
that or even to it, like in the world that he's playing a game, like there's many narratives that are happening all at once. And so you got like the VEECON narrative, right? Where it's this festival where people are building relationships and learning about this whole ecosystem. Cool, that's one narrative. Then you got like the many different layers that's happening in conjunction to it. Like, yes, he's developing a bunch of products. Yes, he's developing a whole bunch of like TV series and cartoons and all that stuff. Then when it comes to like this notion of building character or building relationships, he has all these other like sub narratives. And I think which would be great. I think it'd be powerful if this character can become a narrative, something that's happened over here. And now, during the VEECON saga, it's like morphed into this, finally getting its name. It's finally going to come to, so to speak, a conclusion or have like a piece. And it would be, I don't know, like it'd be phenomenal if he names it, but not only if he names it, it'd be crazy if he brought it into the ecosystem and say, hey, you know what? Actually, let's make this into a full-fledged character of some sort or something like that. Like that would be dangerous. And it'd be funny to plant that seed in his head because I don't know. That'd just be interesting to have just a wild card.
Well, at the end of the day, totally. I mean, like for example, VEECON Viper character was introduced at VEECON.
Yep.
Right, and no one really anticipated
and kind
a
of
new character.
Sorry, that was post. At the very end, he introduced that new character.
No, I think at the beginning of the 2022, right in like the first thing that he did on stage was like everyone's gonna get a shareable asset.
At the end, that was in his wrap up.
Was it? I mean, maybe I'm mistaken.
And then because that was the last surprise and delight where he's like, hey, by the way, everyone, you see this new asset that we have here. Everyone now has a piece of that. And that's where there was like, everyone's like, oh, wicked. And that's when everyone's like, oh, wait a minute, but it's only for Americans.
Yeah, only for Americans. And then, anyways, I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah.
I forget. Either the beginning or the end, but I think you're right. It's at the end. And I mean, when you're the creator, when you're the game master, he's the game master of VFriends.
Yeah.
He can bend, shift, and turn and do whatever he wants at the end of the day.
Yep.
And so we are just like two fans, or like very, in a way. I mean, we love story. Like, I mean, there's a story behind this, right? And not just this character, just the VFriends world. The VFriends world. There's all these characters have different,
purposes, usage.
Exactly. So
Almost like even to hierarchy of like.
yeah. So what's reaffirming is by us showing up to the event and just handing him over, be like, hey, you said left a little gift, figure it out. Well, number one, we got the gift, and we're here to figure it out. And then you tell us to gotta wait another year. All right, we're waiting another year.
Yeah.
Wait another year. We wait another year.
What was your thoughts around? Because this year we were able to kind of, which was a great idea on your part, to kind of then have interviews with different other people who are part of that ecosystem, whether it's Andy, the president of VFriends, D-Rock,
Adam,
we were able to
Adam
pull him,
Rips, yeah.
Adam Rips. What were your thoughts on sort of those conversations and experiences?
Honestly, it just, again, it solidified even more. I mean, Adam was like jokingly was gonna put it in his backpack, like, "Oh, thanks for this." It's like, whoa, hey, I know we just met, but the interesting part is that, like, they're going like, "Oh, well, we have a gerbil, we have a this, whatever," and they were kind of like looking, "Oh, it's interesting. It has this thing," and like obviously they understand these characters very well, but they solidified that this is a very unique one-of-one character that only the game master can like create
Or speak to.
Create this narrative, speak to it, and that's why we want to create a story. We're like all these little conversations. I think what I would love to do for both of us to do is to create a short form documentary.
100%.
I want to show up to New York and just like grab camera and like film some interviews. Like I did some interviews with Adam, did some interviews with whatever. I still want to develop more of the story because
I mean, we had conversations with some of the people from Christie's auction house.
Christie's auction house was very interested in this thing because they knew the value of these things, and even the journey of getting it authenticated is a story of its own that I would love to talk to Gary about because. I mean, I don't want to dive deep into it here because I feel we should leave it for there. We don't want to speculate. We don't want to speculate and we'll do some more things. But there's so much. The whole thing is just like it doesn't make sense. Like the whole experience just doesn't make sense. It's like from like me seeing it to telling you to go do it to like somehow convince the hotel to like showing up to VEECON for everyone to be like what this is this is Doodle to like being worth like X amount of money, but they don't even understand what does it even mean in the grand scheme of things. Like the whole thing is so weird, and this is why Gary says like, your grandchildren are gonna thank me for this. And I'm like, what does this even mean? I don't understand what you mean, Gary. Gary,
It's another wild card.
you put out the ask for the to have him be here.
Yeah.
Well, physically, I'm gonna show up with you. We're gonna be like, Gary, whatever you are, we're gonna fly where you are, and we're gonna do like an candid conversation about what this whole thing means.
And I'm hoping, because one of the things in that ask that when I follow up with them, I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if he would come here. That'd be dope if he could come to Edmonton. Or what are your thoughts? Or do you think it'd be better to go to him?
100% go to him.
You think so?
Yeah, because it just shows that we're not even at the level of Gary whatsoever. For him to come to Edmonton, it's like, what would I do in Edmonton?
But
I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, but I think he's the type of guy who is always on the go.
100%.
And then his schedule is all over the place that you showing up shows you're serious, number one.
I just want him in the studio. I won't lie.
I mean, yeah.
I won't lie. I just want him in the studio.
I mean, I don't think Gary's going to see this, but you never know. He might see this. I mean, he's very, he's very active online. So if you do come to record in color podcast. I will say you will not be disappointed. And I mean, all in all, I think that was the generic experience. It was a very, very candid conversation, and we appreciate like the level of attention and detail that he's developing in his mind, and we're just trying to unlock it in a way. And I'm very curious for what the future holds.
So, and on the flip side take on that, because I'm kind of curious, were you at all upset on his response? Because like, you know, when I first heard that, like, I laughed to myself. I was like, "You cheeky," but at the same token, I was like, I get it. That's even better, because in the finale, so to speak, of that finally wrapping up VEECON, and who knows what might happen in the future, I felt that would be like even more fitting. It's like the build up, the beginning, the build up. I mean, the beginning, middle, and end.
Personally, I was not upset at all. I was actually happier that he said that, because
At least there's something to look forward to.
100%. Like we have something that, I mean, we already knew we were gonna come back, whether he, you know, like unveiled, like he told us, like, this is what it is gonna mean. This is like, he gave us the roadmap for the character. We're like, oh, we don't need to come anymore. Like, no, I mean, him like telling us wait is not gonna change the fact if we're gonna show up or not.
Yeah.
Right. Because the experience being there alone is more valuable than anything,
100%.
in my opinion. But he's a big preacher in the long game, in the patience, in like, there's so many things that he's developing in like a couple of years from now. There's certain things from book games, which is another part of the VFriends world, but it has like a suitcase written on 2025 that someone's it's gonna unlock in 2 more years. So there are so many little nuances and characters that just are not ready to, they're not ripe, I guess.
He's got place. He planted some seeds. He's got some trees that he's cutting down. He's got other stuff that's growing. He's got like
100%. I mean, he's most likely going to also just give us like a little like hanging fruit, just one fruit. And then the entire like tree is going to be like...
well, let's be blunt, because he said your grandchildren. I'm sure it's just going to be a seed. So he's like, hey, I'll give you guys something great, seed. And by the way, this seed can grow into, you know, a forest, but it's on you to.
I mean, there's what do you wish the outcome of this would be? Or not wish, maybe what do you expect?
Again, I just want it to be here's the home run. It's part of the ecosystem in any capacity. And what I mean by that is like it's part of the VFriends character. It might, if it spins off into as like that Viper VEECON is like not really part of the VFriends, but it's part of the overall community as like a branding element. And yes, like that. I just don't want it to be isolated and alone and just nothing. I just want it to be part of it all. Yeah. And if it's part of it all, then it's awesome, because then it becomes, yes, a priceless asset. And more importantly, I would love to see it grow to some fruition versus it just being an isolated thing that's just a one of one in itself, but just more importantly, just be cool if it's just part of other things. And that's my.
I can't really say anything to that except like, on the flip side too, even if it wasn't part of that, he's still gonna give us something that's gonna make it even more unique if it wasn't that.
Totally.
So in a way, it's a win-win situation. Like there's no lose-lose in this.
Totally.
In this,
if he just names it and walks away, then that's still in itself. Kind of everything we just that is articulated is still a very much a play, so to speak. Because it's fun. It's funny. That's the one thing that we have seen. His doodles are in itself its own lane. Like the characters are one lane, the doodles are itself are its own lane, and as he's locked his doodles away in a vault, so to speak, and that's his family vault that he's like said in the past. I think that's one of the core major fundamental assets that the world has not got. Because I think in the grand scheme of his doodles, there's been like 10 or 5 that are out there in the world.
Just the 5 that he sold to Christie's.
But then also the ones that were associated with book games.
Right, yes. Yeah, there was those.
So the Christie's and the book games puts us at roughly, I think, 10 or 15 plus ours 16, and that's it. That's in the wild.
Yeah, and then, I mean, like, and only ours doesn't have any digital asset component to it.
Totally.
It's just a one-on-one physical.
Which is dope. Mosey,
Yeah.
this conversation, I think, has been so much fun.
Man, we could like talk for hours. That's the problem.
Yeah, and no, it's a good thing because we're gonna go multiple chapters. And it's funny, just based on this chat, one of the things that like I never fully thought about, and maybe this should be a side project that we kind of create, but we should create a trailer, like a trailer documentary around this to send to him, just to plant this seed in his head of this like lane.
Well, we're gonna pull up one of our favorite editors
to start to piece it together, but like totally though, because if you think about it,
don't worry, we're gonna drop.
yeah,
it.
like it's fascinating.
It's more than fascinating. It's beyond fascination. It is one experience that you cannot really replicate in anything of any kind. Like when we talk to Christie's, they use an example of this. I believe it was a German artist who used to leave paintings in hotel rooms that are valued at like I'm talking like $100,000. And in a way, this is the current digital form of that. Like, and this is such a wild experience that it's like the story is a developing story, and even will keep developing in the future beyond our existence. I mean, he said grandchildren. I feel like this is something that we don't understand what's going to happen with this. So I am very excited. That's all I can say. So we are going to drop a trailer.
Oh, totally. Mosey, thank you for jumping on the cadence of Just Bobby.T. I think our chats are always so enlightening. You're going to be a reoccurring character on this podcast. I think once we talk about, again, the world, this world, but more importantly, the world of creating content, telling stories, learning about how to do documentaries, and just that whole kind of experience and journey of this becoming a better creator. And so I just want to say thank you so much for coming.
Man, thank you as well. I'm super humbled and thankful for having me here, and I can't wait to be here again and again and again and again.
Dope, sir.
So thank you.
All right.